All right, welcome back to Cajun Connection. We've had a list of 9 players leaving for the draft from this year's LSU team, historic LSU team, and none of them, except for I would say maybe 1 or 2, were a little bit of a surprise.
But I mean, it's always hard to lose key players. It just goes to show that that's the nature of the beast when it comes to college football. You got to be able to reload.
Okay, the list, the first one off the board, as far as those who declared early, the underclassmen, obviously Joe Burrow is the likely number 1 overall pick. Have to be, I say Justin Jefferson. I see him a mid to late first round pick.
And Justin Jefferson, he's had quite the journey. He was like maybe a 2-star, and he's only had offers from LSU, Nichols, Tulane, I want to say. Mm-hmm. And he was not highly touted coming out of high school. And so to be able to prove that was wrong and to be able to put the production that he's put up for LSU, especially this season, being in the running for the Blitnikoff is nothing short of amazing. I do see him going maybe top 15, top 20. I mean, honestly, in my opinion, I would be surprised if he does slip into the second round.
Yeah. Well, there are a lot of receivers in this year's draft pool, and I think he is currently rated as the 3rd or 4th best receiver off the board. So that's kind of why I put him into mid to late. Another one that I think could be a potential first round pick would be Thaddeus Moss.
Thaddeus Moss, first round.
I see him final 10 picks.
I see Thaddeus Moss. I mean, and don't get me wrong, I was very impressed with Thaddeus Moss. And also, I'm gonna have to address the big elephant in the room. It's the aspect of him being the son of legendary wide receiver Randy Moss. Mm-hmm. And Thaddeus Moss actually did prove to us this year, because the one thing I was looking for him to prove is the apple doesn't fall too far from the tree. And it was like a slow start to the season. I didn't see a lot out of Thaddeus, but as the season went on, I started seeing more how he was able to make an impact in the receiving game, being able to be a reliable target for Joe Burrow, and also being able to make an impact in the rushing attack for LSU. And I do believe that having Thaddeus Moss on that edge at tight end did make an impact, a significant impact as far as the production of the rushing attack with Clyde Edwards-helaire. And so it would be kind of a surprise that, if he were to go first round, honestly, I do see him being early to mid second round, in my opinion. Because I honestly, though Thaddeus Moss had an outstanding year for the Tigers, I would have liked to see a little more from him. But he has made some astounding plays this year. But I kind of want to see maybe just a little more out of him. I don't doubt his potential or his talent at all. But I do see him being somewhere in the second round.
I place him in most likely a second round. I do not see him slipping any further than the top of the 3rd. The reason why, I say that he is a potential first round pick is because he was injured last year, and so he didn't play. Almost not a down, I don't think. And he came back to set the LSU record for most receiving yards and maybe touchdowns by a tight end, and that's saying a lot.
And for him to do it in only 1 year.
1 year. So potential first rounder. I definitely thought that if he came back for his senior season, and he definitely could have played himself into the upper first round, but between picks 25 to 32, I could see him potentially going, especially for one of the playoff teams that wants a little extra boost on the offensive side.
Oh, what I can say about Thaddeus Moss is that he definitely put the tight end position on the map. Because, over the years, let's be honest, we haven't really seen much production out of the tight end position. Probably the most production we've seen out of that position was out of Foster Moreau. And he ended up being a late pick to the Oakland Raiders.
Right. Okay, so another big name that was coming out, one that was no surprise, especially seeing how He absolutely improved his draft stock the most this year out of all the LSU players who declared early, and that was Clyde Edwards-Helaire.
I was highly impressed with Edwards-Helaire this season, and being able to and he was so used to an LSU offense being run heavy, and for him to be able to adapt to this pass-heavy offense and to still make an impact the way he did. I mean, let's look at Clyde Edwards-Helaire. I mean, he doesn't really have the size of running back. He's only 5'7", but I mean, he has the ability to evade tackles. He has amazing ball carrier vision. He has great ability as far as pass blocking, and he's also a guy that's versatile. He can catch passes out the backfield and really make some plays for the Tigers. And I mean, I love his ability to evade tackles. I mean, in open field. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire, he can be a dangerous weapon if you give him the ball in the open field.
Right. Okay. There's been a few guys who declare for the draft. Some not surprising, some a little bit surprising. But you have Caleb Von Chason, who had a fantastic, especially the second half of the season, really came along, really inserted his dominance. Patrick Queen declared, Jacob Phillips declared, and Michael Divinity graduated, which means the LSU will be losing their entire starting linebacker core from the championship run.
And it has me worried for next season for our defense. Like, how much venom will our defense produce next year? By far, LSU had a deep linebacking core. One of the more ferocious linebacking cores in the country, in my opinion. Though defense did have their struggles. This is tough.
Yeah, I mean, they're losing a lot of talent and a lot of tackles on the front seven.
I see a lot of draft picks. I mean, I see them going. I mean, the whole linebacking core. I see them going anywhere between the second and the fourth round.
Yeah, they're also losing to graduation and players likely to be drafted or at least signed to NFL rosters. They're losing Rashad Lawrence and Brandon Fihoko on the defensive line. So, arguably, you're losing 6.
And they're also losing Grant Delpit, and they're losing Christian Fulton.
Well, that's in the secondary. I was referring to
the front seven.
The front seven. The secondary, and we'll get to that a little bit later, is not as in bad of a shape as saying the front seven is.
We're going to see a lot. Probably the only familiar faces we're going to see in on that defense would be Jacoby Stevens, Kerry Vincent, Derek Stingley.
Well, like I said, we'll get to that.
Tyler Shelvin on the defensive line, who I was definitely impressed with. What about Glenn Logan? He's coming back next season, right? He's coming back, yeah. So, I mean, I do believe our defense will be back in shape. Will be locked and loaded for next season. I mean, look, I've always dreamed of LSU bringing a dynasty back to Baton Rouge. I mean, you look at Alabama, how they've been dominant. I mean, every time they will win a national title, every year they always have coaches leaving. They always have players leaving. But it's their ability to recruit, put the guys in the right place, and be able to basically reload. And I do believe that Coach O's going to get the right people, and I do believe that this LSU team will be locked and loaded for next year.
Since you're on that topic, I guess we'll call this a break, and then we'll come back and talk LSU's 2020 roster and what that might look like.